This is a tutorial on the Agent Commission Sharing Agreement, CAR Form, ACS, to be done between associate licensees that are collaborating or partnering or working together or joining a team. This basically outlines the terms of collaborating with another agent, and it doesn't matter if the agents are under the same brokerage or at different brokerages. This 4-page form covers both scenarios, and I filled it out loosely as if I have a team name, but I'm bringing on a partner, and we're going to be 50-50 partners working together. Anytime you collaborate with another agent, this form should be used. So I start by putting my name up here at the top. I'm associate licensee number 1, and they refer to it as AL1 in this form. Put my license number, and then we have made up any agent, AL2, her license number. Now, even though this form is just a sea of text and it's fairly technical, it's actually quite simple because there's not much to edit. So as an example, you have paragraph 1. Technically, you don't have to do anything to paragraph 1 and you have an agreement. You don't have to do anything here, but we put in this date. Now, you should put a date in here when this agreement begins. They call it commencement date. But even if you leave this blank, then it says below that this agreement starts once the last party needed signs this form. So that's why I'm saying that even though you have all this text, it already goes right into effect. You don't have to do anything except sign at the bottom. So I'll walk you through it. So I put a date here because I think that's just good practice, although you don't have to. Then we have expiration. How long does this go on for? Well, if we don't do anything, it says that it just terminates by either party as specified below. Well, let's look below. Termination. So basically, it says no matter whether it's ongoing or a fixed term, each party may terminate this agreement with a 30-day notice. And you can change that to 15 days or whatever you want. But that's what I'm saying. Default here, you don't have to change anything. I probably wouldn't change anything here, quite frankly. That's why I didn't fill anything out when I made this sample. But if you want to do a fixed term of 12 months by default, or change it, or a certain date, or you can even check this box and say that this whole thing ends once a single particular transaction that you're partnering on is completed. You can put that here. Let's say you're just collaborating with someone on one property. You're selling 123 Main Street. Well, you just write 123 Main Street here, and then that says that once that's sold, this relationship is over. All right, and this basically just says the parties agree to keep their license in good standing. Okay, now we jump down to paragraph 2. This is where we state exceptions. What properties are excluded from this relationship? Well, I'm just pretending, and again, I filled this out as if I was engaging in a partnership with another agent. I'm saying, hey, my own property, I don't need a partner on it, okay? I can sell it on my own. If I'm listing my own place, I'll probably do it for next to nothing in terms of a commission. Same with family members. I might offer a very low discounted rate, next to nothing for friends or family members. I shouldn't say friends. I should only say family members here because that's what it says. So I check these boxes. But there's other exclusions you can put if they're applicable. If you want to partner on everything, leave it all blank. These are exceptions. Limited activity, and this is where you're just narrowing it down. The partnership only applies to what? Maybe you only want to partner for, in a certain geographic zone, or maybe on a particular property like we said above in that first paragraph, or with a certain client. If we're representing the Smiths, we check this box and we write that name, and we're only collaborating in respect to this one client that we're sharing. This is where it's outlined right here, okay? Pretty straightforward. Now we get to pre-existing client relationships. Before we came in to this agreement, did we have a client list? And I'm pretending yes. I'm going to attach an Exhibit 1. I'm going to type out on a Word document of my clients that are my private clients I've spent years sending email marketing to and I've built a relationship with. And I'm saying these are clients I'm bringing into that I have that are that are separate of what we're engaging in. And it says here that once you check this box, that this is AL1, that's associate licensee number 1, that's me, that these lists, if any, represent the complete identification of clients brought into the commission sharing agreement. So it's saying that these are clients that I've brought in. Now this comes in later when the contract terminates, because it specifies what happens with those clients. Because I may have a client in my Exhibit 1 that likes my partner agent more than me. So we'll get to that in a little bit here. Now compensation, very important, of course. By default, if you do nothing, it's split 50-50. And it says right here, so it starts with pre-existing clients, okay? Because remember right here, this paragraph 3, this is where we say, hey, here are the clients we had before we joined this together, right? You're identifying them. Now, down here, what does that mean in application? Well, pre-existing clients, and you can agree to share business that comes from your pre-existing client list, or you can have a weighted percentage. Maybe I want 70% of the commission because it was my past marketing efforts that made that list. Anyway, so let's look at 4A, pre-existing clients. For all covered transactions, 50% of compensation and 50% of compensation to AL2. So basically it's saying we split it. Or I can check this box and I can say, hey, the ones that I identified up here in paragraph 3, I want more of. I want 70% of. And you only get 30% because it's a freebie for you. I market it. I spend all the money on direct mailers and went to the open houses to find the people on the list, and you're just showing up at the end of it. Or not. You can leave it 50-50. I'm just saying you check this box to determine if there's some sort of non-50-50 arrangement here for pre-existing clients. That settles the pre-existing clients that we identified up here. What about shared clients? These are the ones that we're finding together now that we're working as a team. Same idea. By default, it's 50-50 to associate licensee 1 and 2. Or check this box and you can do a weighted percentage. Hey, maybe I'm way more experienced, or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just going to sit in the back seat and you're going to do all the heavy lifting, and I'll guide you and I'll coach you, but I get 40%, you get 60%, and you do everything. Or if you don't want to just define it as a simple 60-40, 70-30 or whatever here, or the default 50-50, they even give you a box to check here where you can do a whole different addendum. And an addendum is going to say something like this. That can be another Word document or any document that you make up. And that document can say something like, AL1 procures leads through the following method. It could be, maybe I have a Zillow account that I've been paying on and I get Zillow leads. So maybe it's not as simple as saying 50-50 or 60-40 up here, because I might say, hey, if it's a Zillow lead I gave you, I get this percentage. And if it's a Realtor.com lead that you found, then you and I share it this way. But basically, this allows you to attach an addendum that specifies all sorts of unique scenarios that could arise if there are different types of clients that come up. So this right here is all you need to determine compensation, so there's no misunderstanding. And if you want to get more technical than just the split, you check this box and then attach an addendum where you filled out all these scenarios. Well, if the client comes and the client does this and that, it's a 50%, but if not, they're 30%. And typically you'll see that with leads involved. Broker instructions, this just tells the broker, hey broker, we figured it out. So we're in agreement, so you can pay us accordingly. Shared expenses. I won't belabor this as much, but you can. So by default, it'll be proportionate. And it'll tell you, it says right here, split using the same ratio as the compensation in paragraph 4. Now, if you diverge from if expenses are paid in a unique arrangement, okay? Actually, you don't even have to, because as long as your expenses, because it refers to paragraph 4. So as long as you at some point, let's say you do an addendum because there's a unique arrangement, expenses should be outlined if they're not proportionate, if one party's paying them more than the other. And then there's verbiage in here about by the 10th of day of each month that one associate licensee will give the other a written statement of basically an itemized list of expenses they've incurred, so the other one can reimburse them, or they can reconcile their expenses and reimbursements accordingly. And then it even comes down to, so it says each licensee shall be responsible for their own cost of maintaining their license, a TC. By default, actually, it says both parties split the TC. Now that can be changed. You can check this box and say in proportion to their compensation split. A lot of things are all about proportion, so just keep that in mind. And if it's not proportion, if it's not 50-50 compensation or 60-40 compensation and 60-40 expenses or 50-50 expenses, then that's when you need to make modifications here. Just skim through it. It's really not that complicated. And then now down here, so side note, now a lot of times when people collaborate or you have a team, there's a fictitious business name. All right, I wrote Team Hunters made up, okay? I checked the box that I will conduct any and all business. So we're agreeing, now we're in this little partnership here, that we will conduct any and all license activity under this DBA. Now, quick side note about DBAs. Unless you have a team name that consists of the team leader's name, your actual name, your last name. You know, if your last name is Jones, it needs to be Jones Team or something like that. There needs to be two of you or more. Only then can you check this box team name. When you have a team name that doesn't have your actual personal name in it, you need to get a DBA. You need to file a fictitious business name. And here's what you do. You need to record a DBA in the county in which your brokerage is located. And then you need to submit you as the salesperson or associate broker, you need to file the DBA because you own the DBA. If you're called Sunset Homes or something, and actually that sounds like a retirement community. Let's call it Sunrise Homes. Let's say you're Sunrise Homes. That's your team name. You need to file that with the county and you own it. But then you take it to the brokerage and the brokerage goes and grabs a salesperson-owned fictitious business name form with the Department of Real Estate, and your broker registers your DBA as a salesperson-owned or agent-owned DBA with the broker license, the brokerage license. Anytime you don't have a team name with your name in it, this needs to be done to be in compliance. So even if I write Team Hunter, because that's not my last name, this would require me to have a fictitious business name. Most of the time, you're going to need to do this up here. 6B is not as common. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting a little bit too off topic here, but it's a very important point for compliance. Basically, if you have a team name that doesn't have your last name, you need a salesperson-owned fictitious business name. You need to own it. Whoever owns that branding needs to file it with the county. It needs to be sent to the Department of Real Estate with your broker. Any questions about that? Just leave a comment. Compensation upon termination. This is a big deal. What happens when it ends? So you can just leave this just like this, okay? There's no change needs to be done down here. But on this one, pre-existing clients, I did say that, hey, should a pre-existing client, so let's read it. So the AL, associate licensee who identified the pre-existing client, shall or shall not be entitled to referral fee of the compensation earned by chosen AL, meaning that if one of my clients doesn't work with me but works with someone else, my former partner, the other AL, I get paid a referral fee. If you want a referral fee so you don't get cut out on pre-existing clients, write a number in here. Future transactions. So I wrote here, the other AL should be entitled to a referral fee of 25% of compensation left over from the other former partner within 3 months, and this can be changed, made longer or shorter, from the date of termination. Just letting you know, if we're working and then for whatever reason, we give each other a notice, hey, let's go our separate ways without each other, and a client wants to move forward and buys, well, I at least want a referral fee, and I just wrote 25%. You can make up whatever you want. If you have questions with this form, please leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer. All right. Now, luckily, the hardest part's done. This just basically is kind of advisory. So they have dispute resolution, by default mediation, of course, like all these forms. If you want arbitration, check these boxes and initial. If you don't want arbitration, leave it alone. And at the very least, you have mediation. And then that's okay. If there's anything else that you need to add here that hasn't been added, you're going to write it out here. And definitions, don't worry about any of this. Now, when you put responsible broker, if it's the same brokerage, this should be a duplicate. You should write the brokerage name twice here, the brokerage number. If it's not, you're going to go down here. Well, actually, you'll write two different brokerages here, but also at the bottom where everyone signs, they have kind of a repeat of this section of responsible broker in the signature area. Basically, same broker, one signature. Different brokers, check this box, two different signatures. And that's the end of the 4 pages. I hope this is a good primer to help you complete this form. It's extremely important that when agents collaborate, they use this form, because so many disputes come out of a misunderstanding or something comes up. That's just how partnerships work in general. Partnerships can be very challenging. And the more terms are in writing in a partnership, the more successful outlook it has. Thanks for watching.